Hi everybody, my name's Cabe. I'm here from the Coles Group. I'm part of the supply chain operations. You just have to catch me if I look away. I'm part of the supply chain operations team at Coles, and I'm here today to talk to you about supply chain conformance, and in particular why supply chain conformance is really important to Coles and why now is the right time to be talking about supply chain conformance. So what I thought we'd do is just start a little bit of an overview of Coles. I know everyone kind of knows who Coles is. You can't watch the football on a Friday night without being inundated by Coles ads, but I think it's still really important to set the scene. So we operate about 1,800 customer locations right across the country. So from up in Port Douglas over to Karratha, all the way down to Hobart. We span the entirety of the continent. And to service those supermarket stores, we operate 20 distribution centres. Again, we have operations up in Townsville, down in Launceston, right across to Perth. So, as I said, we cover the entire nation. And we're one of Australia's largest employers, and we're really proud of that fact. So we've got 120,000 team members right across our businesses, and 8,000 team members in particular just in our supply chain business. And the scale of this business, and I've worked here a long time, but the scale of this business is sometimes mind-boggling. So we ship 19 million cartons a week through those 20 distribution centres. And if you add that up, that's over 1 billion cartons a year that we distribute from our distribution centres into stores. As part of our Together to Get Zero strategy, we're really focused on the impact we make on the environments and the communities and the customers we serve. And we're really proud of the fact that 45% of the electricity that powers our supply chain is sourced through renewables means. And we also, not a lot of people know this, we operate our own inbound freight business. So through the Coles Collect business, we manage about 36% of our inbound freight into our DCs. And that's really important to us, and we're really proud of that because it allows us to partner with our suppliers to deliver really great service to our DCs and to our customers. So when we talk about supply chain conformance, I think it's important just to step back a little bit and sort of talk about what's been playing out over the last few years in the supply chain space. So we know that, obviously we had the impact of COVID in the last 3 or 4 years, but COVID is over. My boss won't let me talk about COVID anymore, but there are still ongoing disruptions in the supply chain space. So as I said, we span the entirety of the nation, and we are really relying on the infrastructure that services it. So whether it's road, whether it's rail, whether it's over water, we use multimodal transport. And we know that we live in a country of fire, of floods, of cyclones, and there's a lot of disruption when it comes to infrastructure. I was on a call this morning, and the rail out to WA for Perth, you probably might know this, is blocked, and it won't be open again. Latest ETA is Thursday. So the infrastructure in this country is obviously under a lot of pressure. We just started recovering international shipping in a COVID world, and then obviously we've now had the Red Sea crisis. So that's obviously got impacts in terms of cost, but it's actually got a lot of impacts, and probably more importantly in terms of schedule reliability that managing as well. Obviously we've had Palletgate, that's now hopefully over, but we're still seeing ongoing impacts from pallets. We've got ongoing driver shortages and raw materials. I mean, this group probably feels this as much as anybody, but we obviously had the potato shortage last year that impacted potato chips and frozen vegetables. And obviously right now, if you go to your supermarkets and you walk through the soft drink aisle, there's big issues playing out with carbon dioxide at the moment too. And obviously transport, not just from drivers or fuel costs, but there's plenty of that's playing out in the transport space. So I guess, why am I talking about all of this? Well, so supply chain has been under a lot of pressure in the last 3 to 5 years. And I guess if you look at the way it's sort of playing out, that's not going to change anytime soon. And so that places a lot of pressure on our supply chain team, and therefore a pressure on their conformance and the level of compliance we see for inbound deliveries. Now we work with GS1. I think everyone in this room works really closely with GS1, and they've done a little bit of view of the industry and say, what does supply chain conformance look like currently? And this is the industry data, this isn't Coles data, but what they're seeing at the moment is 25 to 30%. So nearly a third of all inbound deliveries into DCs and have some level of non-conformance or non-compliance. 40% of that may be related to the SSC label, 29% is just simply the SSCC label in the wrong spot. We got 24% with mismatch or non-scanning SSCCs, and as we'll see, if you only have to look around this room, and as we'll see a bit later, we are in an automated world right now, and master data is very important to drive that automation. We can see that up to 30% of the suppliers in the NPC have a bronze level quality of master data or below. So we're in a world where our supply chain teams are under a lot of pressure. Conformance is obviously has some opportunities and some challenges around conformance, And on top of this, Coles has just invested the largest investment ever in the history of our 100 and something year old business into automation. But it's the biggest investment we've ever made. So we've partnered with Witron and Ocado, two of the market leaders we think in this space. So we've partnered with Witron for their automated distribution centres, and we're really proud and we feel privileged to partner with Witron. So Witron have opened over 90 food automated distribution centres globally. There is no one else out there that has the scale, the scope, or the experience with automated distribution centres, particularly in the grocery space in the whole world. And we're really proud to partner with Witron. We opened our first automated distribution centre in Redbank, in Queensland, I think last year, and we're really pleased with the way that's come along. And before too long, we'll have another one on the ground firing in Kemps Creek in New South Wales. And then we've also partnered with Ocado. Now, the online customer fulfillment space is obviously a relatively new space, but we think Ocado is one of the key players, and they've been there since the start. So they've opened up automated customer fulfillment centres right across the globe. And again, we feel really lucky to be able to partner with Ocado, and we're opening 2 facilities, one in Sydney and one in Melbourne, and they should be open in a relatively short amount of time. And we're really excited because we think this will be a step change in the way that we service our customers through the online business. So I think when you step back, we've got supply chain teams and our supply chains itself under a lot of pressure. We've got ongoing issues with conformance, and on top of this, and looking around the room, probably the grocery sector is probably a little delayed in this, but automation is absolutely here. So that means that supply chain conformance, particularly from a Coles perspective, has never been more important. So we've stood up an in-house supply chain conformance team. And as part of that, we've got 6 full-time auditors that work across our ambient distribution centres, so 4 distribution centres in Queensland and New South Wales. And we conduct audits against inbound pallets, not only inbound pallets, but pallets that are in reserve and pallets that are in pick slots. And each one of those pallets is checked for 40 attributes against our supply chain standards. And then probably most importantly, we have an online platform that allows real-time diagnosis and case management as part of that. So as our auditors pick up a conformance issue, they can log it on the platform, and then suppliers get visibility of that, and we can work with our supply partners through the platform to triage and diagnose and resolve those issues. But the analytics that come from that platform are just as important to us. What it allows us to do is to find a really top performing suppliers and recognise and celebrate those suppliers. But it also allows us to find suppliers with challenges, either particular products or particular transport legs, and work with those suppliers to remedy those issues. So we're focused mainly on the ambient range at the moment. Obviously, most of our automation work's happening in ambient, but that's not to say that we won't move into chilled or frozen in the coming time. So what have we found? We've been doing these audits for nearly 2 years now. And what we've found is that 4 non-conformance items make up 75% of our inbound issues. And the biggest one by far is pallet wrapping. And so there's probably a few different types that pallet wrapping plays out. So the first one is just damage to the pallet wrapping itself, whether that's in transit or at some other point in the supply chain. A big one in an automated world is tails and dags. So we know that once we're moving on conveyors and things like that, they can get caught up in the automation itself. So a big one for us. And then the last one is just the coverage on the pallet board. So we know that if the pallet wrapping doesn't cover enough of the pallet board, it can slip up in transit and that load can become detached from the pallet, which leads directly into the second issue, which is pallet stabilization. So, that is just literally shift in transit, etc., etc. A couple of big ones for this room as well. So pallet configuration. So we know as we move into an automated world and we have automated depalletization, we know there's a lot of layer configurations that aren't friendly to automated depalletization. When we try and clamp them, they move into a shape and they're not perfectly square, or they've got too many holes or chimneys in them and the suction can't pick them up. So we've got to work with our suppliers to get the best possible pallet configuration across both businesses. And then the last one for this room is carton integrity. So whether that is crushing or bulging across the shelf-friendly packaging perforations, or whether that's crushing from pallets being double stacked in transit, or the cardboard grade can't quite meet the weight of the product. So we know that 75% of issues are caused by these 4 items. Thank you. So what does that mean, or what's the key learning, or what's the takeaway from it? So what we know, and we should all know, is that we all want our products received into our distribution centres first time, every time, right? We want that, our supply partners want that. However, we are moving into an automated world, and there's a lot less flexibility and a lot less adaptability in that world. So therefore, for us, there's never been a better time to really start to talk about our supply chain standards and how important they are to us, because automation requires them. We've moved away from a world with manual operators being able to scan any label wherever they are, or be able to fix any sort of non-conformance just on the spot. So there's plenty of help up there, but our mission at Coles, or our ask for Coles, is let's just get brilliant at the basics, right? We have our Coles supply chain standards. We think we've led the way with those. We've worked really hard to have them aligned with the industry as part of the trading part of Fortnum for the common delivery guidelines. So there's plenty of support out there. As we launch each one of our automated facilities, we will launch a supplier automation readiness handbook at the same time. That will be the one-stop shop, or the Bible. It'll give you all the information you need to know to transact and interact and deliver into those facilities. So that's it for me today. A big thank you for your time and your attention, and I will hopefully talk to you sometime in the next few days. Bye.